Welcome to the Transform Sales Podcast, where forward-thinking business leaders come to share their experiences and ideas, learn from each other, and amplify their results together.
All right, guys, welcome to another session of the Transform Sales Podcast, Software Review. Today we have David Brennan, CEO of Arkeo. Today we have two Davids in the house, so it's going to be a special day. How's it going, David?
I'm doing awesome, Dave. Thanks for having me on your show.
Awesome. So guys, those that are watching today, we're going to have a very interesting conversation. We're going to talk about how founders can increase win rates and accelerate deal progression. But before we get to that, David, I do want to ask a personal question. What made you build this company? And I know AI is super trendy right now. Was there a reason? Was there something that was influenced based on what's going on with AI in today's market?
Well, so this is my third software company. And I was actually running, I'm going to show you data set off of my other software company. And we were looking early 2023, we were trying to find ways to solve our own problems. And that was we saw this spark in AI and large language models and the way they were progressing. And we had this challenge where we couldn't really get visibility on what was happening in our sales pipelines and our sales processes. And we wanted to we were looking for tools to help us with it. And we tried, HubSpot modeling and all that stuff, but we just couldn't get there. We tried large language models with massive amounts of context. I built prompts that were the size of like small SOPs and just couldn't get there. And so we were thinking about it, and I was out for a run, and I said, what if we could just build an AI that knew our company? And so we went to market with a RAG in November of last year, and really, really quickly realized that just like us, other founders didn't know enough about their company to be able to make that technology work. So that's when we pivoted into Arkeo and started building out these intelligent agent structures that go into your systems and pull data and process and tell you what's happening in your company.
Got it. Thanks for sharing that. Well, that's something that a lot of companies that I speak to are also dealing with, right? They're relying too much on the manual work. They want to use AI, but it's just a shiny thing that they don't know how to use, right? And I feel like when you start getting involved, when you start seeing how it's affecting your process, when you start seeing how it requires a lot more attention, right? That's when it's like, this is the call out where we need to focus, set priorities, and actually align with the right team to come up with a solution, right? And the good thing you mentioned is most of the software companies that usually come to this podcast, they felt the same pain. And that's the reason why they want to build a kick-ass product so that they can share it to the world. So thanks for sharing that.
Yeah, thank you. Thanks for having us on, because we love chatting about it and sharing what we're doing and sharing the experiences for other founders and sales executives to be able to learn from and use.
100%. Is there any prediction that you have for AI in the upcoming 2 years? Just a personal question.
Predictions? I think I don't think it's a prediction. I think it's pretty a given that you're going to see LLMs get significantly better. We're excited about the increases in reasoning. That's a big one, because all of our systems and all the agents in the future are going to get better when you have better reasoning. I think currently it's like, imagine grade 10 level, right? Imagine if you had a PhD, or imagine if you had somebody that was like the smartest person you knew or you know of, that's actually able to connect into your data sets and into your systems. Imagine what they could do for your company. Imagine what they could do for your life. And I think that will be my prediction is that in the next 3 to 4 years, you will see where every person has an AI that's personalized to them, personalized to what they do, who they are, and you'll just see it kind of become this accelerator in all of our lives and all aspects of our lives.
When it comes to your specific customers, right, what alternatives were they using before considering or buying your software?
So right now, they'd be using some sort of visualization software would be my bet. If they're in HubSpot, they're probably using the HubSpot dashboards and KPI tracking and that type of stuff. But they're probably also pulling it over into Excel or Google Sheets and tracking manually so they can have their conversations. And so they'd be looking at like win rates and close rates and velocity and that type of stuff from like things around like ideal customers and stuff like that. Mostly they're tracking that in, maybe they got it in a Miro board, which they've got all the data captured over. They brought it out of conversations. Maybe they've got it in Excel sheets. That type of stuff is where most companies are using it. And so they're manually going in and reviewing it and trying to understand what's actually happening in the organization, and pretty time consuming to like go get that stuff and listen to those calls, and we'll do the math around the calculations of velocity and touch points and all that good stuff. So that's kind of where they're at right now.
And what I'm understanding here is that most of these conversations that they're having, since this manual is coming from a manual activity, they're not really speaking about the things they don't know, right? So like you said, sometimes they're spending, on top of spending so much manual time on things that who knows what that's going to drive, they're not even focusing on the specific gaps that the process needs, right? So having a system like this one, what we're going to talk about, they can have a better idea of what those conversations will look like and actually lead to something, right? Because if I'm in my specific space, sometimes I'm not seeing the rest of the stuff that's going on. So who brings those situations up, you know?
Yeah. And I think that's the other side, is like you got sales teams that are looking at sales data, and you got customer teams that are looking at customer data, and marketing that's looking at marketing data. And lots of time they're not communicating, they're not sharing, they're not teaching each other really what's going on. So I think there's one of the biggest challenges we see is like, how do you understand what's happening in your organization when you have so you can make data-driven decisions? Because we all know that's how you have to run a company now. But how do you get the data, especially when it's like dispersed across multiple different business units and teams? And so that's one of the biggest challenges we see in organizations right now, is actually, I call it honest data. It doesn't have my twist on it or your twist, or I don't even say twist, because it's not even, it's just our personal bias or what we think. And that's the way our brains work. We're going to jump to conclusions really fast. And so when we share things like that, I think we're not really giving the other people on our team everything they need to know to really make good decisions.
100%. Oh, thanks for sharing that. And that's something that we're also going to touch a little bit when it comes to the challenges, right? So what challenge were your customers running into with those alternatives that your software helped them overcome? I know you kind of reveal some of them, but what are very specific ones, right? Like high value leads or slow deal progression due to manual work, which is something you mentioned, but also the inability to personalize engagement at scale, right? What others?
Yeah, I'll say the big challenges that we saw our customers running into, first of all, is there's two separate challenges. One is understanding your customer, which I think is the backbone of any good sales process product. I think customer research and knowing them is probably the most undervalued indicator of your future success. So lots of times what we saw is kind of what I explained about them trying to understand their customer. You know, they're trying to talk to their sales team and say, you know, you're the tip of the spear. What did you guys find out? What are they telling you? And the sales team's like, I'm trying to close deals. Right. So that's one side of it. And then the second side of it is like going in and looking at your sales pipelines, looking at your closed deals, you know, like the stages, the attributions, why they're closing, all of this information, and being able to understand what you should do next. Right? Like, should you focus on, if you were running like a disco demo proposal sales process, like, are we focusing on proposals? Are we focusing on demos? Are we on discovery? Should we be looking at lead generation? Are we bringing on the right leads? Those are all like really hard questions to answer for most companies, because you just don't quite have enough to know what's going on. And I think that's a big challenge for a lot of founders. I think where we definitely see is like, you get over 1 million, right? You got product market fit. They like you. and you're like, okay, how do I scale and grow this? Well, what stops you from scaling it and growing it? You don't know what leads are good leads. You don't know how to turn on the lead engine. You got to make everything. If you want to go to 2 million, you got to make it twice. 4 million is 4 times. And so they bring in your own challenges. And unless you know that you do this, and this, and it attracts this buyer and they stay for this long, that's the level of understanding it takes to be able to scale. And that's a whole system to build in itself.
100%. And this kind of remind me of a podcast that I heard the other day from Jason Bay, right? There's a lot of companies and founders that they're drowning in a sea of tools and shiny stuff, but they're not going back to the fundamentals, right? So if you go back to your fundamentals, understand, who you're selling to, what are you even offering to this market, and then using AI to leverage that and get those insights to make an informed decision. That's where it's at right now, right? No, and I feel like another problem that arises from this is that there's a lot of companies that are constantly migrating from CRMs. So they're constantly getting new reps into their team. So there's always new people, there's always new databases. How do you even have control of this?
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah, that's a wild one. You tell me, I'm going to probably piss off a few people here, but I will do it anyways. Go for it. You tell me how you can justify leaving one CRM and going to another one where you have all your data, every touch point, attribution, all I'm also making a case for not leaving your CRM, but you have all that information. And I hear this all the time. Founders like, yeah, we just left HubSpot. They're too expensive. I'm like, how much did HubSpot cost you? They're like, oh, it costs us about 35 grand or 40,000 a year. I'm like, so you've got 10 reps, right? You're going to bring them all over. You're going to migrate all your systems over. You're going to change all your workflows. How many years is that going to cost? How many years is it going to take for you to make up the $10,000 you saved by moving to a cheaper CRM?
I feel like those companies that are constantly migrating from CRM is because they don't believe in their data. They don't have enough information from their buyers, right?
And what the problem they really have is they don't understand their customer. They don't understand why their customer buys, and they probably don't have a product that's hit product market fit. Because if they did, they'd be able to sell it to those same people over and over again. And they're just like, what they're trying to do is find a silver bullet that's going to solve the problem. And what they need to do is go back to basics and understand who that customer is. Why does that customer buy? What pain points? What is the thing that what's the frustration? What's that thing that just connects with them? And they're like, I need this now. And you figure that out, don't worry about the software you're using.
I agree. And sometimes I feel like they make these decisions that are risking a whole database without even figuring out what is a good question to ask these people.
Yeah.
That's a common pain. All right, perfect. So I do want to go over this favorite portion of the recording, which is obviously showing us a demo of the key features of your software that has helped overcome the use case challenges you just mentioned. So I'll go ahead and share your screen. And you could kind of walk us through this, and let's spice it up.
Cool. So this is a dashboard. And so what we kind of did, or we didn't kind of do, but we wanted to model this off of your social media feed. So Arkeo needs to feel intelligent. It needs to feel like it's communicative and talking to you in real time. And so that's what these reports are. And I'll kind of come back and touch on these. I'm just going to quickly show you how you can make agents work in a way that I think a lot of people don't quite fully understand. And this is how we think you're going to see a real revolution on how you change the way you do businesses. So currently, we integrate into HubSpot and Stripe. And so we're bringing on Salesforce next. But literally, this is how easy it is to set up Arkeo. Come in, connect your HubSpot. Come over here to your specialist, select your specialist. So right now, I've got a pipeline analysis one. So think specialists are agents. And so they're connected into your data set. They're going to do a bunch of things, and they're going to bring you back a report on a regular basis. And that report's going to actually allow you to be able to communicate and chat with, and I'll show you how to do that. So right now we have a pipeline analysis. We've got an ICP builder, kind of touches on the two things that we were chatting about. And then a new one that I didn't really talk about that much is this deal notes specialist. And this is pushing deal notes back into HubSpot for your sales reps to be able to use from the data that we're actually collecting in Arkeo. So if I come over into our dashboard, what I'm going to be able to do is come down into, I think there we go. So let's go into your, I'm going to show you this first because we touched on knowing your customer. And the last thing we talked about is how to sell a product and connect with them. So if you come in here and you open up this, you're actually able to see Arkeo is coming in and it's pulling all this information in about your ideal customer. And so why I think this is really interesting is this is the basis for a lot of how agents need to work for you in the future. So if you think in a year from now, you're going to have 40 agents working in Arkeo that are doing different aspects of your job in marketing, customer success, sales, and stuff like that. This is that piece that I said, you got to go back to understanding the customer. And so what Arkeo is actually doing is going back into your pipeline and going into every close one deal. It's scraping every conversation, every email, every transcript, every proposal, everything that's gone out in HubSpot and coming back and bringing you that back in. And so it's actually telling you the frustrations, the fears, the aspirations, and the values and attitudes of your ideal customer. And so this is the basis of how you're actually able to write copy, communicate, demo, connect with them on that level that makes them actually want to buy. The other really cool thing in here is you can actually chat with it. So when I start talking to Arkeo about it, you can start going, hey, create me an SEO plan that's going to connect with the frustrations and aspirations of safety professionals, because that's what this company sells. And Arkeo will just go in and start, because it's connected to those ever-evolving LLMs, it's actually using this real data from your company, and it solves that context piece. I'm going to pop over. I'm going to show you a chat in this one over here. I think I was pushing the wrong button. I'm running two computers, so bear with me, Dave, while
Yeah, I have a question so far. So, for example, this is an agent, right? So this agent will capture that information from the ICP and communicate with the other agent for them to do the other job.
Yes, exactly.
Am I getting it? All right, perfect.
So think about this. This goes back to the first challenge that we had as a company. We wanted an AI that knew our company. So how you do that is you build agents that first go into your data set and gather this information. Very handy for us because now we know that information as well. So we have our ICPs, we have our sales pipeline information, and we have all of that data available to us. And so then the same thing with your sales pipeline agent. It goes in and pulls all that data on a regular basis, and it's building this whole data set that's available for your future agents and you and your team to communicate with and understand what's happening in the organization. And so really, really powerful, because right now it's in the early stages of gathering and gleaning this information. But imagine 3 years from now, when you have all your sales data, every conversation you ever had with your customers, your marketing, your Google ad spends, all of across Stripe, development, accounting, and it all connects into one place. And you have this agentic structure, I'll call it, but just think multiple chained agents that work together to run your company, just like you would with employees. And that's kind of where we see it going. So this is the pipeline agent. And so what it actually does is goes in. And so this is just to give you a little backstory. This is my first company, Safety Evolution, and we run a free trial pipeline along with a bunch of other ones. But this is a really interesting one because it gives you an overview of this whole pipeline, deal structures, probabilities. Obviously, I thought this was really interesting because in HubSpot, you can set it up so you have your probabilities, and it's always a guess because you don't know what it is. Okay. So these are the preset ones. And so this morning I was like, oh, you know what I'm going to do for Dave? I'm going to see if we can actually get close rates, real close rates and percentages out of Arkeo this morning to be able to share with you so you could see what you can actually do with this. And so I'll show you how I did it in a second, but you can actually go through and just go through sales profiles, pipeline analysis, trends, insights, deal velocities. So you can see here's your deal velocities from all the different stages. You can see lost deals, where they're losing, where the bottlenecks are. It's giving you profiles, just a huge amount of information that it's like sharing with you and you can start to communicate with. And so what I actually asked it, Dave, was I said, can you give me, let me get up to this one here. I said, how many days does the average deal spend in each of the stages? And how many deals did we win versus loss? And so then it just goes through and gives me all the information and, like maximum duration, average duration in each pipeline or each stage, when the loss was, gives me the metrics. So we know on that pipeline, we had 94 deals. We closed, we closed 73 of them and we lost, out of those 84. And so when I come in here, I can actually see like in this stage here where they're getting hung up. But what I thought was really interesting for me is like, if you see in these stages, this one here is what I like. So total deals, 94. This is in my trial sign up stage, and only 7, and of them, 17 actually moved to kickoff. So for me, when I look at that, I know that we're losing 77 deals just in that first stage. So if I'm going to come in and look at where I should start focusing on, that's a really good place, because if I can increase that by 10%, that's another 7 deals into the pipeline. And so obviously there's something broken right there, or you got the wrong ideal customer coming in. So there's so much capacity to be able to do that and understand where each one of these are falling off. And then what I thought was really interesting is if I come back up to my talk up here and I look at these numbers, like my probability said 10%, right? And so really we know out of the 100, we lost 77. So we're close on that one, but our close rates should jump up significantly more because this is the biggest drop. So you can actually go in and verify your assumptions even on how you have your predictability set up on the pipeline for your teams to be able to see how much revenue is in them. So just like that's like just some of the like things that you're able to do by querying the data sets and having an LLM that's working with you on it. You can see what your like actual deal metrics are, different industries, and you can query anything in here on the whole report. And so what's really cool in the future with Arkeo is what we want to do is once we have that data set compiled for your whole team, you'll be able to come in here and to the main function, and you'll be able to communicate with that whole data set across all of your business units. And so we expect that we'll have that up in about another 3 months.
Awesome. One of the things that I wanted to mention here is like the level of insights that you get, right? I've been in conversations as an SDR, as an AE, where the conversation is more in, how do you speak to these people? How many times do you call them? How many times do you reach out to them? And they're putting so much weight on the sales reps, but they're not analyzing what the process is. I feel like there's a lot of founders that just, I'm not sure if it's in terms of ego or they just truly believe in what they have. And sometimes they don't analyze there's something to be fixed in their process, right? And I feel like something like this will leave, obviously, the team to be more successful when they're doing outreach because they know what's the bigger picture, right? But I feel like those conversations, what they used to be back then before AI, were just very big. And next thing you know, hey, let's explore another market. Let's explore another one. And let's just keep going. Next thing you know, nobody wants to buy. And that's a conversation where, it doesn't hurt us to migrate because we don't even know who the heck we have.
Yes, and you nailed it, Dave. That is 100% the case. And I think with this, I don't know. I think for most founders, given tools like this, what it allows them to do is go and ask the questions that they would like to ask, that they're asking in their head, but they can't get answers for.
Exactly.
That's the power of it, because now it's like, this is all like, we're talking infancy, David, of this technology. Give it another 18 months and see what it's going to do for you and your team. But the ability for you to go in and answer questions that you didn't have the answers for, and to be able to go and do it, like it takes 15 minutes and Arkeo is putting these reports out to you. That's the part I think that's I remember like in this same company trying to, that Sankey diagram right here, this one, I was trying to build Sankey diagram. I was trying to build this for one of my pipelines. I spent a week and a half with connecting it and API and getting like the visualizations all set up into HubSpot, and it still didn't really work that well, right? So imagine now you plug it in and it's doing it like that. Like that is so powerful, because what they need to be able to do is go in and know what's happening. And so that's where we see it, like for them is really being able to answer questions that they never could before, and think about how many amazing people that are founders, that are CROs, that are working really hard in their company to grow and to scale, and they're not able to because they just don't know the information that could unlock where they could go.
100%. 100%. That's a big topic. I feel like we got some good takeaways from this call.
Not
a lot of
about it at all, David.
Awesome. So there's a few questions I want to ask related to this. I know, like you mentioned, there's 10 to 15 minutes for me to have a report so that, I could get value off the tool quick. But when it comes to the setup, what are the tasks, deliverables, and people involved in setting up the software for this use case, in this case for founders, right? And how long would it typically take to reach full productivity?
So you log in with our team. We do that mostly because we want to chat with you and learn about what you're doing. You go in and you connect your API into HubSpot. You go over and you select your agent or specialist. And so like for the pipeline report, you select, I want it to run on these pipelines and on this stage, this frequency. So they'll run daily, weekly, monthly for you, and you hit go and it's done.
Got it. Any time frame that you kind of give? Like
usually it takes about 45 minutes for us to download the data out of HubSpot. And then another, they take about 6-7 minutes a piece to run. So if you don't have to do anything, but it's a huge amount of data aggregation and some pretty complex agentic structures working in the background to make it all come together. So you can have the information. You can set it up in 15 minutes, and then within 2 hours, it'll start giving you reports and telling you what's going on. The very first reports come within seconds, but if you want to go to those agent-based pipeline analysis and ICPs, they're going to take probably about 2 hours to be able to run.
Got it. Thank you for sharing that. One of the questions that I like to ask, because it's been a question that has been requested, is when it comes to support channels, what are your main support channels? You guys have the chat, you guys have email, or do you suggest like a dedicated CSM to be able to support the person along the whole process, or how does that look?
So currently for us, and I think we'll always have a portion of this because I think it's really important to communicate with your customers. But right now we have, you can call us, email us, chat with us. We're there all the time. We really want to know what you're thinking and what you're going through. We want to know why it's working or if it isn't working, how we can fix it, how we can make it better, that type of stuff. So for us, that's the easiest way to get through to us. We think in the future, the goal is to have Arkeo help you. Like if there's a challenge that you're running into, Arkeo should help you. It should be intelligent. It should be able to equally predict what you need next from a standpoint. So we definitely see moving into a PLG growth motion for us. So you sign up from this on the website, and Arkeo walks you through and talks to you and communicates with you, just like a dedicated customer success manager or person would do for you. And we're building that logic in now to that if you ask it questions, it can help you. So you should in the future Arkeo should just come alive as you start to add more information, and it should become your trusted person, just like your person that you go to and you talk to. That's the goal of it.
Got it. No, and I feel like a lot of companies like yourself who are building in public, they tend to be the easiest ones to reach out to, right? So that definitely
you
does
can
help
get
as
it
well.
anywhere. comment on a LinkedIn post or anywhere you want. We'll answer. We're pretty responsive and focused on what our people are saying, really.
And I have a question. Are you guys using this software as well to gather all the feedback from those customers that are coming in, dropping their ideas? Is that a thing as well?
Of course.
Awesome. Awesome. And the reason why I asked is because I feel like a lot of people are not being heard whenever they have like a feature request, whenever they have something that's itching for them. And that can be maybe something that you implement into your system that can, be another stream of income or something that's going to help them a lot more. So yeah, a lot of people are not being heard on their feedback. So knowing that you have a system, not only that you're offering, but also using yourself, that's super compelling for people that are making this type of purchase decisions when it comes to software, right?
Well, and you touched on it because I think there's like there's the buying process, and then there's like the customer success management process. And so what I think's amazing is like, look at how many tickets come in, right? Like, we want this, or this isn't working, or I don't understand how to do this, or, like all of those things. And your customer success team's trying to bring them over and add them to the information for development. But again, huge amount of data. What is this technology good at? Going in and looking at every email, making sure nothing gets dropped, and saying, hey, listen, you've had this, 5 companies have asked for, 5 users have asked for this, or 5 people don't know how to do this in your system. You should do something about that, because if it's not intuitive enough for them to figure it out, like, that's pretty challenging. So I think huge amount of information there on like what to build in the future. What do they care about? That type of stuff will be available in the next little while too.
I get that. Yeah. Awesome. So when it comes to the KPIs, your ideal customer used to evaluate the success for your software for this specific use case, and what are the quantifiable outcomes can they expect? So one of them that I saw was deal cycle time, and customer retention, but I know there's a few more that you want to pin out.
So I think those are really good ones, but you can also see like deal velocity. You'll be able to see your pipeline, kind of like those images we showed, because the cool thing is like it runs it every month or every 2 weeks or week or whatever your frequency is. So you can check last month's versus this month's, 4 or 6 months back to see, oh, we came in and it took 180 days to close a deal. And it's 6 months because we put these strategies in place. We reduced that deal time, the close times, to 4 months. And we also decreased the time that we spent on close lost deals by 60%. So our sales reps were this much more effective. And we were able to see that we closed 30% more deals over that 6 month period, because our reps were significantly more effective and working on deals that were important. And so Arkeo will tell you if it's working or not. That's the really cool part. It's like, you don't have to go and track. You just look at last month's and did you change? And, in 6 months from now, did you see a significant change? And you and I chatted prior to the starting this up about our 60-day free trial. And so that is one of the other reasons, is because we think it's going to take you 60 days to actually see Arkeo strategies come to life. And so if you do the first report and you say, oh, wow, look at this, I got to change this in the first 2 stages, and we're going to go look at nesting and we're going to beef this up. In 2 months from now, you should start to see the whole pipeline change. And so that's how one of the cool parts about it.
Awesome. Well, thanks for sharing that. I feel like this is a very good session. There was a lot of questions outside of this questions, but I feel like it gave a lot of those viewers a bigger picture of what you're trying to accomplish, what's going on in the market right now, and real life situations that I've experienced and you did as well, right? So I feel like that was definitely a great session. But anything else you want to kind of cover? I feel like we covered those few things that we want to pretty much nail in, but
No, I think we covered it. We're really excited. Thanks for having us on, Dave. We're really excited to support founders and CROs as they journey. And if you're in HubSpot and you want to try it out, come say hi. Be happy to spin you up a Arkeo and see how it can help you.
Let's do it. Let's do it. Well, guys, those that are watching, thank you for being in another session of the Transform SaaS podcast, software review here with David with Arkeo. So I'm going to go ahead and drop the link in the description for those that are looking to get enough insights to make informed decisions and stop fucking around. It's time to get your numbers. It's time to know exactly what's going on. It's time to enable your teams to actually get things done correctly. I feel like this is the perfect opportunity.
I love it.